Welcome back, guys. Yeah, I guess it's time to get it started. So, like every patch that comes out, this is my patch 7.6 rundown. I was pre-warned by people who've already read the patch that this is going to be a relatively short patch, and I'm going to go ahead and read this real quick just to clarify just how short it, or the reasoning why it's going to be short. So, they're taking a lighter touch than normal this time. Uh, it's going to be the patch that's being played on playoffs. So from what I understand, 7.7 has huge changes or a lot bigger changes, which makes sense, right? The mid-season and the early season, preseason are usually the times where you can make the most amount of changes in the game, and usually when Riot takes the liberty of doing that before all the competitive seasons go around. So this is the patch that you'll be playing LCS on. I don't think 7.5 was that bad, actually. I think it's one of the best patches of the current season to play LCS on. So I'm curious to see what kind of buffs they're gonna do to champions. They say Warlords, Aatrox, Varus, MF. So let's just keep going down and see what happens. Galio. Oh, it'll be 2 weeks after the original patch. Okay, so nothing here. Aatrox. Okay, so they hotfixed this champion a little bit before because he was really bad. So they changed him and they wanted to buff him, but it ended up being like just a nerf across the board. They had to hotfix him, and even then he wasn't a good champion. And so I wonder what they're gonna do as well. So after reviving, Aatrox now keeps his prime bloodthirst hits and gets full bloodwell. Oh, Blood Rush is the Draven W, so they changed the name to Hellbent. Alright. A reviving for his passive now has a full Bloodwell. No longer loses his third hit for Bloodwell after reviving. Okay, so it's just some quality of life fixes. This should help a lot because I think Aatrox's attack speed is currently based on his Bloodwell. Oh, wait, hold on. I'm gonna dodge this game if this accepts. Alright, cool. Anyways, I think his attack speed right now. Let me go double check real quick. Aatrox wiki. I think his passive right now is depending on his passive or his attack speed. And so, what is it at the moment? What the heck? Gains. Holy moly! When did they start adding that on? Here we go. This is the same thing. Um, the Bloodwell, he gains 1% attack speed for every 2% that's in the well. So it means that he doesn't drop 50% of his attack speed when he reses, as well as has the quality of life increase from this. Um, I think it's pretty good, but yeah, apparently not doing much with Aatrox right now. Anything can help, from what I understand from the very few amount of people who do play Aatrox. I've been told that this champ actually just is not very good, and so hopefully this helps a little bit in his problems at the moment. That one's not up to date. What is his? Why would that one not be up to date? It just gets 25% base attack damage and 20 to 50% attack speed scaling upon level. Um, so it's 25% attack damage. Wait, he still gets a buff, which like the exact same thing that I said still applies. Where it's nice once he comes back up from the res that he still has stats. Okay, moving on. Cho'Gath. I've personally been playing quite a bit of Cho'Gath. I think that um, he's not very good. So Just throwing that out there, he's not a great tank. He doesn't really apply that much. He's really outdated in his entire skill set. Mainly, one of the biggest problems with him is that leveling up his E and his Q don't give you anything extra. This Q and his E only give you damage, which is really, really strange. If you check any other champion in the game, that's not really true. So Cho'Gath feels very archaic. At some point down the line, this champ's probably in line for a rework. But I guess at the moment they made it so his ulti last patch stack infinitely if you consume after 5 if you consume champions or units. So what did they do? They buffed his late game scaling a little bit by 10 to 20 per stack, and then they have this actually is a little bit nice, the small minion cap. I think generally Cho'Gath at the moment, you can't really play him top because he's not great into any of the matchups. He's okay into certain melee matchups. For the most part, he's not very playable. Mid lane is typically where you'll see the most about Cho'Gath. I think he's a decent counterpick to other melee champions. Primarily stuff like Zed, Cho'Gath does fairly well into. But at the moment, he's very niche. And this will help him, but still doesn't fix the innate problems of the champion not being very good. Like, his skill set is just... when he uses his kit, he just is a walking, like, 3,000 health champion, 4,000 health champion. And his scaling is really, really poor, even now. This might help that a little bit, but still, I don't see it much. This is probably the bigger buff of the two, meaning that you're guaranteed at least another stack, which is nice. I probably played the most amount of Cho since 7.5 of all the people that I know, and this doesn't fix any of his problems. But I mean, he's average as a champion. Fiddlesticks. So what happened? His Q cast range increased. W refunds its remaining duration when the target dies. So I think after they fixed Fiddlesticks' cheat, where he started Wolf Camp and then went blue and Gromp, and you could bounce the E between the two by leashing them together. What ends up happening is he became pretty bad. And so what did they do? Increasing the cast range of Q is actually really important. Extra 50 range doesn't seem that good, but this is longer than most normal auto attack ranges. So 550 is around the average auto attack range. 575 is like just over. So you're not even allowed to auto attack him. It makes his ganks a little bit better, and his skirmish is a little bit better. He can pick a little bit easier. Overall, like, this is actually pretty big buff for him in general. Phyllis still has a problem where he can't clear that well, and so what they're doing is if the target dies before the channel completes, the remaining duration is applied as CDR. I think it's nice. It just means you can W. If you start your channel when the creature health is at 20%, you gain back a little bit back some of its cooldown. I still don't think Fiddlesticks is super good, but quality of life buffs help. Gnar. So what happens here? Mini Gnar and Mega Gnar have the same health regen. So when he's ahead, his constant basic auto attacks and ability casts send him into Mega that much more often. But when Gnar's behind, he often can't build the fury he needs to transform. Denying access to Mega Gnar's increased health regeneration. We're smoothing out Gnar's regeneration between forms to make him a little bit more capable of healing up with falling. I didn't even realize his evolved form had more health regeneration. So what happened? His mini has a 0.5 health growth stat. Wow. So his Mega health form is less and his mini is more. I actually had no idea this was a thing, but I guess it's cool. It makes Gnar a little bit better. And you can now Q another ability during E cast time. Okay, means you can Q your ulti off your E, or you Q off your E. That's nice. This is a very, very small quality of life buff. Then again, Gnar's a champion that you have to be really careful because he's always 1 or 2 buffs away from becoming super good. And if Gnar's really, really good, then he fulfills the duties of both the split pusher and the team fight front line at the same time. So I don't think Gnar needs that many more buffs. I think this is a nice, small help. But they don't need to touch him that much. So MF. Q damage up, Q and E are smoother to use. So what does that mean? Oh yeah, last patch, they're lethality, deathfire touch, and double up. So they're putting up damage onto your Q, increasing the ratio back to 1 or to 1 total AD. Oh my god. Alright, this would piss me off about playing MF the most. So if you've ever played MF before, she would pause when she cast her double up. So it made it really obnoxious to try to like attack move while doing it. It's very similar to, if you guys know, when you cast GOP off the item, the little ice nova thing. It also pauses your character as well, and it's really frustrating to use that item and to play MF when that stuff happens. And they made it on her E as well, to where she no longer briefly pauses either. Actually think these two buffs are really, 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 really nice when you play a chip. It makes it smooth to play, similar to how Lucian, they smoothed out his late game combos, so it doesn't feel bad when you use her abilities anymore. I don't think MF needs that much in terms of buffs. This will probably bring her back toward like decently pickable range. I don't think she needs much more help, because she is not a bad champ at all right now. And although not a lot of ADs are picking her, I just think it's because everyone's really obsessed with the fact that Lulu Cog is a big thing, as well as Ezreal. I don't think MF is bad at all, and just because she's not picked right now doesn't mean she's an awful champ. Orianna. So this champ is super good. Actually, one of the best champs in the game right now in terms of mid lane. I think the only thing that people pick into her is Ahri to try to beat her up. The ball no longer returns to Ori if the target it's attached to dies. Wait, that... Oh, I was going to say that's a huge buff, but it's only if the target dies. It's not if the target goes out of range, and it's not if you E and then the target immediately moves or you move while you're casting ulti. So it's got very, 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 very limited use. But it's nice, I guess. That's generally it's nice. Quinn. Harrier proc now grants more attack speed, sky strike damage down. Quinn responds as Valor. What's R? Oh, that last thing is really nice. So her bonus attack speed. Oh wow, they both did 80%. Wow, it might be that you don't max E anymore. The problem is E gives you CDR, so it's not that bad. But 80% is a lot of attack speed, like a ridiculous amount of attack speed. You lost a lot of AD for it though, like quite a bit in terms of your AD scaling, and that's usually what you buy. So maybe she's becoming more of like a champion that uses crit and like PD attack speed items rather than being a full lethality user. And that's what they want to push her away from. I don't necessarily know if that's good, because if you push her away from that, like she has a niche in being like a roaming assassin. She's not that great at auto attacking. I don't think these changes help her really at all, because she's got average range and like sure she can kind of disengage, but she's relatively weak by herself. She's not an 80 that would ever be picked in the 80 position, for instance. And so I get why they're trying to do it and trying to make her W more appealing, but they're taking away a lot of like her burst from roaming. And I don't know if Quinn necessarily wants that as a champ, because I think right now she's only viable with lethality. If you go the other way, which is crit, she's definitely not as good. Okay, anyways, moving on. Varus, Q refund from Blight no longer reduced by cooldown reduction. Part of piercing arrows cooldown refund included anti-scaling with cooldown reduction. We're hesitant to give him the option of getting a cooldown piercing arrow lower than it was pre-nerf. Ultimately, he still has to use his basic tactic as a refund, which is a main improvement we wanted to see. Nixing the anti-scaling as a power for Varus also makes the refund easier to understand, better to see cooldown reduction. Okay, so it's a slight buff in making him his cube off the Blight proc give him his CDR back. That's cool. I mean, right now you're building Crit Varus or Bork Varus with Hurricane, so it's nice. I don't think it makes Varus super good. I know FlyQuest played a little bit of Varus this week. I'm not completely sold on this champion in the 80 position. I definitely think he takes kind of a backseat to the Ezreal, the Caitlyn getting play right now, but he was always okay into the old Caitlyn. I'm not sure if he'll see more play now that he will, but now that he is rebuffed, my initial impressions are that he won't, but maybe I'm wrong. I think any champion within his level of ulti utility that can get solo picks or get initiation is very valuable, and him alongside Ash are really two of the only ADs that have that kind of initiation. So we'll see. Oh wait, people will say I didn't read the biggest Quinn thing. This isn't that big. It's a different thing where it rather than every time you go back to base, similar to Kled, passive you get back on your mount or you automatically get changed to your ulti form. This scales by based on how much you die in the game. So if you're reading this and you're telling me this is a really important thing, you're probably telling me that you die a lot during the game. Like I don't think this is as important, nearly as important as you think. It would be a different story if it changed when she backed. Warlord's Bloodlust. Current Warlords I've heard is okay. It's obviously not as good as the old Warlords, which is super OP for lane sustain. So what happens now? They want it to be discrete high impact moments. It came with okay, they had to rework how it does. It's a significant difference once the late game happens. Yes, 100% Warlords is pretty good late game. Should have success cases, but Caitlyn headshots of minions shouldn't be more rewarding than Caitlyn kites the enemy frontline. Switching to a heal effect keeps Warlords rewarding as a combat sustain tool while making sustain easier to ID. Kite and reposition against any threat that comes your way. So what's the sustain bonus? Restores health equal to 30 to 40% of total AD. 3 to 40. 3%. You have like 60 AD, 70 AD at 1. You start 2 health at level 1. Okay. If your attack that procs Warlord's Bloodlust critically strikes, the heal crits as well. Further increased by critical. Oh wow, you can modify with IE. 80% of AD. So it could be up to 100% of AD. So you can crit heal for 300 if it crits. It ignores armor too, so it's obviously good late game for crit users. Like this is no brainer, really good late game for crit users. The real thing is, would people take this over Fervor? If you're a champion like Tryndamere, a champion like Yasuo, and I don't think they would. And so obviously late game it's pretty good for you. But a lot of the early Fervor, like the early trades in lane, like are only workable because Fervor makes you really strong. And so I think a lot of people who originally talked to me about Warlords Bloodlust being like super OP for Yasuo or anything, it might be true that it might be too overtuned for the champion. However, I suspect that Fervor is still going to be the go-to for Warlords Bloodlust, for champions like Yasuo, because Fervor is just too strong in lane. And right now, laney is such an important part of the game that you need to be getting such a huge benefit from anything else to make this effective. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe because I mean, obviously when you think of something that scales well off of crit, you immediately think something like Yasuo, who can exploit this stuff super hard. So if Yasuo does become super OP because of this Warlord's Bloodlust, like then it just goes back to the initial idea that Riot needs to be able to like limit champions from being able to use like certain things. And so the thing about keystones is usually there's always one or two super OP champions when it comes to each keystone. There's champions that become much better because the keystone's in the game. A good example is Thunderlords. Sometimes it procs up 3 hits, but some champions get 3 hits a lot easier than others. For instance, Heimerdinger and W can single proc Thunderlords, which typically makes your Thunderlords pressure a lot better. Same thing with Fizz, where you can proc Thunderlords just by QWing in. And so the old Bloodlust, the one that gave you healing based on crit, was super abusable by Yasuo, and I don't think this is still the case. But this probably works more to lines that maybe Riot should consider doing, if not masteries, at least like itemization toward melee and range difference, so that they can actually balance crit itemization around ADs and not around is Yasuo gonna make this item or mastery or something extremely broken. I guess we'll have to see in game. My initial reaction are it's not going to be that good, except for in the cases where Yasuo is already popping off, and if he's already popping off, then if this thing makes him insane. But you probably already lost the game if that's the case. That's at least what I think. So what happens on Summoner's Rift? The red Brambleback magic resists down. Meant to be resilient against magic damage, while Blue Sentinel offers the same challenge against physical damage. Those numbers didn't line up, so we're standardizing them now. He gets 5 less MR at level 1. Okay, cool. Makes champions like Elise, Zac a little bit better against red. Stuff that I probably wouldn't notice, but maybe a jungler would better be able to explain this. Makes your early cure maybe like a couple seconds faster, which is always nice if you're an AP champion. Don't care about rotating game modes. In-game options menu. Don't really mind that. League client update. I don't use low spec mode. Bug fixes. I heard there's only one important bug fix you need to know, which is, let me go double check. This is the only bug fix that you need to know, because this actually made Alawi really pretty strong. So what you can do currently on live is you can W into E, and you can cancel the animation on your E. So Alawi, when she throws her E, it's like this long animation. It's like she's fishing. She like has to take, she like wind back and then like throw out her arms or something when she's throwing like her tentacle at them. And what people found out with the testing tool is that you could W into E and not show the animation at all. It instantly comes out, which makes her, in my opinion, relatively good, like very, very good. And so this was a nerf onto that. Everything else seems like just normal bug fixes. Actually, yeah, it's a relatively short patch. Am I excited to see this patch on live? I don't know. So I think it's not bad. I think it doesn't affect competitive at all, which is what they wanted to do. And it buffs a couple of champions like Fiddlesticks, Cho'Gath, Gnar, MF, Varus, which aren't seeing super high amounts of play. Overall, I understand it's a very small patch. I'm waiting until next patch before bigger things happen. I'm okay with this patch being the patch that you see playoffs on. I'm actually pretty excited to see this 7.5 plus patch. That's about it. Anyways, let's go back into the game. I'm gonna play some mats. See you guys in a bit. Hey, that's by far my shortest patch rundown I've ever done.